So what does a Yandere, 320 gold pieces of starting wealth, and an elvish first level wizard have in common? If you don't provide me a backstory, a lot apparently. So for those of you unfamiliar with the Japanese term yandere, it's basically from two different Japanese words. It's from yanderu, which is insane or sick, and dare, which is loving or affectionate, thus yandere. It's kind of a trope in anime. Basically describes usually a girl who is so much consumed by love she's driven insane. So when one of my players, the first level elvish wizard, happened to get lucky and roll like a really good boon for starting wealth, I had to come up with a plan. First I had to get them in specularum, and I had to sort of come up with a plan why he has 320 gold. I asked him about it. He wasn't sure. Again, I asked him about his background. Well, I trained under an old elvish wizard, and now I'm ready to strike out my own. Okay, mistake number one. Give me a background or I'll start to fill it in for you. And that's what I have fun as a dungeon master. So I knew I had to get them a specularum, because that's where the Veiled Society module takes place. So I decided, okay, your old elvish master has this spell book. Now it's not like adventuring spells. It's basically like household cantrips and kind of, health cures and stuff like that for old age. Very useful to elder wizards, and he actually had a buyer in specularum. So he needed Nuvian, who is his apprentice, just to take this spellbook to specularum and sell it to Master Emmett. And for that, he would be awarded 320 gold pieces. He got 20 gold pieces up front, and then he'd get 300 upon his return. So, boy, what a deal, right? Of course, nobody ever thinks to ask, about why does this seem too good to be true? Aha, first mistake. So anyway, that's how he kind of hired the two other half-elves as sort of guards, or just in case people, to take him down to specularum, because he'd spent all his life in Riflian, just a little bit west of Calvin. And yeah, so that's explained how the adventurers got together. They got there, they went through the Veiled Society, involved with political intrigues like elves out of water, so to speak, and but it went well. They got to the point where they raided the Blue Water Mead Hall and had a big fight, and it went very well for them. And the captain of the guard said, come by tomorrow morning and we'll pay you a reward for your help. And so that's what they decided. Aha! But as they're leaving, a strange elf named Drespin accosted Nuvian. Now, Nuvian, I never told him, and he role-played this wonderfully. And he just rolled with the role-playing punches, as it were. But she was very distressed that he hadn't come back to see her. And I had to explain, well, this is your master's daughter. She's an alchemist. She didn't go the wizarding route, but she's very good at alchemy. And you were engaged. And he's like, oh, well, I don't think I would do that. And he's like, well, she thinks you were engaged. Whether you agreed to it or not was another story. And he was like, all right, I'll just have to let her down easy. What he doesn't know is that Drespin is a potential Yandere character. So they go back to their inn. She's insists that they have their own room. That's fine. They've got a lot to catch up on. The rest of the party go to the common room. Nuvian and Drespin go to their own private chamber. He's very tired, though. Lots to discuss. We'll talk about it in the morning. I just need to go to sleep. Fine. Around 5 a.m., she accidentally drops a filter of love by his mouth, and it, soaks into the floorboards, and he fails a saving throw. So he's basically charmed. So she just says, "Come on, we're going back home, dear," and away he goes. The rest of the party eventually wakes up, and they handled this separately. Where's Nuvian? Oh, I don't know. They go investigate the room. He's gone. So they know something's up. They decide, even though they're supposed to go get the reward, we better chase him. So away they go. Now, poor Nuvian, and this is great because he had all this extra money, she just basically buys the best carriage and the fastest horses she can and uses his money to do so, and they're off to the races. The other party is kind of tracking them down. Hey, have you seen a pink-haired elf with another elf? And yeah, some have, some haven't. But eventually they find out they rented a horses and carriage, and they decide, well, we'd better do the same. I was nice to Nuvian. I said, because she's riding the carriage so fast and trying to make such good time, you do hit some ruts. There's damage to the wheel. It basically comes off. You fall off, take like a little bit of damage, but you do bump your head, and I will give you an additional save. And luckily this time he makes it. Kind of realizes what's going on, casts a sleep spell on her, and the rest of the party catches up. Pardon me. So, what happens after that? Well, this is the conundrum. Technically, yes, she did kidnap him, but if first they're both elves, so turning them over to the Specularum Guard, dicey at best. They were involved in a relationship. Maybe it's a he said, she said, a misunderstanding. Will there be any charges? Likely not, right? They don't really want to deal with this. So that's the reasoning. And they said, but can we let her go? Can we trust her? Yeah, who knows, right? So do they take her alchemical supplies? Well, no, says Nuvian, we don't want to leave her defenseless, but we have to insist that she just leave us alone. One of my other players, the half-elf cleric, decides to write a little note and to break it off easy. Just says, look, Nuvian's very happy with his new dark elf companion and me, and that you're no longer needed here, and that you should just, go home, forget about him. Okay. Obviously, this player does not know the Yandere genre. The needle is a zoop, full Yandere. At that point, her mind broke. So, she hatched a plan. They went back to Specularum. They got their little bit of reward. It was wrapped up. They're invited to stay. They could be part of the guard, but Nuvian had to get back the gems which were magically altered to hide, so that he wouldn't get pickpocketed, to his master, and kind of fulfill his half of the bargain with the spellbook. So that's fine. They travel back. No incidents. They get back to Riftland. Fantastic. Great. And that's when tragedy strikes. Now, Estella, she goes, visits her family, and asks her, well, tell me about your family. Well, I've got 9 brothers and sisters, and we're very poor, and everybody's bare feet, but we're happy. And they have a great time with Nuvians there, and they're trying to butter him up to get the reward, and very well played. Anyway, Nuvian eventually does go to his master's tower, and this is where he finds out it's basically been burned down. His master is on the front lawn, not sure what happened. He fell asleep while studying, and then inside, and then he woke up on the grass, and his tower was on fire, and he went to look for his spell books, and they're all gone, and oh my gosh. So they begin to suspect that maybe Drespin was behind this. They would be correct. And they start to ask questions around town. Yes, she was here. One of the elves saw her leave with an old kind of hunter-tracker fellow, which is strange because the guy's crotchety and old and usually has nothing to do with other people, but seemed to be all over her for some reason. I wonder why. A little bit of magical alchemical assistance there, I believe. So anyway, oh yes, and when they go to investigate his shack out in the woods and open the door, and of course the big fire bomb goes off. So I didn't roll much damage on that one, luckily for them. But that was fun. So now Nuvian's got to go to Calvin because he's got these gems that his master kind of transferred back, and he gets one that's worth about 320 gold, right? So and his master's very happy to have the gems because now he can he went from basically destitute now to, oh, I've got some money to set up a little bit again, and that's it for that, right? So they go to Calvin, ask, has anybody seen a pink-haired elf? No, they haven't. Fine, trade in the gems, jewels. Thing is, they only asked at one door, right? So our Yandere Drespin actually went in through another route and was spying on them the whole time. And this is where the ambush on the river, which basically starts off Night's Dark Terror, module B10, will start off the next day. Yeah, I'll show you that ambush and what happens after the ambush, all out of Owlbear Radio, in the next video. I just wanted to go into a little bit of the background, how you can kind of use fun genres like Yandere in your D&D game. Sure, why not? So Yandere and D&D. There you go. See you next time, everybody. Bye-bye.